Colorado's future uncovered what we believe are overwhelming grounds to challenge not only the Secretary of State's determination of sufficiency, which was announced on April 28th, but also the entire set of petitions submitted by the proponents. In addition, we are challenging numerous elements of the petition gathering process as executed by those proponents. We believe that many parts of that process are, at the very least, a violation of the public trust, but more likely fraud and potential criminal acts. That process is one that is reportedly funded by Jonathan Kors and reportedly carried out by Dan Kennedy at Kennedy Enterprises, by Scott Lamb at Lamb Consulting, and by Edie Baguette of National Ballot Access. A simple check of the notary registry provided by the Secretary of State resulted in the discovery that at least 4 so-called notaries, as demonstrated by this official letter here in the front by the Secretary of State, were in fact not notaries at all. These persons, used by the proponents, fraudulently held themselves out as a qualified public official and potentially committed forgery when they were utilized to notarize petitions for the proponents of Amendment 47. We discovered that these so-called professional circulator companies who are circulating petitions right now in Colorado and other matters failed the very basic job of providing a reference number to the citizens of the state before they began circulating petitions for Amendment 47. Yet another protection against fraud removed by the proponents of Amendment 47. If you were to take one of those claims specifically, and you were to look at, for instance, the non-registered voters, the non-registered match, there's over 50,000 of those names. We're not just challenging this by number. This is a pattern of fraud at each and every step of the process. So we're not just making claims based on each element, but we're also making claims based on the overall pattern.
As a firefighter, I've seen firsthand the consequences of people not following the law or standards. For instance, when negligent landlords don't pay attention to fire codes, I see the dangerous impact that oversight has on those families. Jonathan Kors and his friends are acting in the same negligent way, but they're playing with our Constitution. At every step of the process for their so-called citizens initiative, the proponents and funders of Amendment 47 failed to follow laws, potentially committed fraud, and in some instances may have committed criminal acts in the process of submitting this measure to change our Constitution. I believe, like most Coloradans, that to change our state constitution, you should follow our laws. That's why I'm here today, and that's why I took this legal action.
Along with Reed, I filed this legal action yesterday because I was dismayed by the pervasive pattern of fraud shown in the signature gathering for Amendment 47. As we all know, in a democratic society, there are important checks and balances to ensure transparency and accountability in our political process. Those who are trying to change our Constitution have an extra responsibility to be honest with Colorado voters. However, the people behind this initiative seem to have shown a pattern of repeatedly violating sworn oaths and legal obligations as required by Colorado law. Honesty, openness, and anti-fraud measures are the foundation of the ballot process here. It's disappointing that the people behind Amendment 47 seem to show little regard for sworn oaths, sworn duties, and honesty with Colorado voters.
For instance, one such company, National Ballot Access, which is headed by Edie Baguette, has run into troubles in Nebraska, Michigan, Oklahoma, and Missouri. Yet despite all of this, she is reportedly part of the team to help circulate Amendment 47. In Oklahoma, in an effort involving both Baguette and Kennedy, state officials have asked questions about the integrity of their process. The Oklahoma Secretary of State reported that the signatures from that effort in 2008 resulted in, quote, an unprecedented situation where large numbers of duplicate names and addresses were discovered well into the signature counting process. We, in fact, during our analysis, witnessed the same problems here, as I'll explain. From there, these companies and this organization, who was reportedly funded by Jonathan Kors, hired circulators and notaries who we believe repeatedly violated their sworn circulator affidavit oath and their legal obligations as a notary. The first of these, after a simple fact check of the information provided by the circulator in their affidavit, resulted not in finding the home of the circulator, but in fact, attaining business, as indicated in this middle picture here. And not just attaining business, but one that has in fact been closed over the past, that has been closed since last year. In another instance, checking the information provided by the circulator, it revealed not a home, not a business, but this vacant lot that we see here in front. But we didn't stop there. We checked with the owner to see if anybody lived at that lot. despite its appearance, and the owner confirmed that in fact no one lived at that location. And a final example, again, a simple fact check of the information provided by the circulator in their sworn affidavit resulted again, not in their home, not in their residency, but in fact this business here, this payday lending store behind Reed. These are just 3 examples of what we believe is a massive pattern that we've outlined in our complaint, each of which we believe are clearly fraudulent violations of the sworn affidavit and part of this massive pattern of fraud and potential illegality. So when you go to Jonathan Kors and when you talk to Dan Kennedy, they don't get to say that this is a slip-up or a technicality. These are laws in place for a reason. They are anti-fraud measures, and we contend that they're repeatedly violated over and over and over again at every step of the process. What courts and the legislature has made clear for decades through these safeguards is that if you choose to participate in the citizens' process to qualify a measure for the ballot, you don't get to fraud your way into consideration by the people of Colorado.